Okay, so when you go to the URL that I gave you, which is at the end, because I need to set you up first. Actually, no, I said, okay, so you log in at the beginning, but you don't do anything with it. And once you set up GitLab, then you can just click on the login with GitLab. And if you're already logged in the browser, then that will directly take you in. And you'll actually wind up with a developer view initially, I think, and you won't have any projects at the beginning. But what you should do at the beginning is just log in and go back to administration and see who we've got, if anybody. So user management, users. Okay, so I see that we've already got 3 students that have done that. And then now, okay, so I gave you a I guess what you should use for a username, which I said it should be. Let's see, was it? I think it was first initial first followed by last name.
Right.
And so SNA would be right. T Black would be right. Wilson should be W Zhu.
Right. W Zhu. Right.
Okay. So, and what I said was actually use the first name that you want me to call you. So if you didn't, well, such is life. Probably at this time you don't need to go back and change it. It's just that I need to figure out who is an actual student so that I can add you into the students group, which I can't really do until you log in and then have a user created. So in this cloud, the users are created at the beginning, and I can add you into a group by your username. But of course, I don't know your username until you create the other account, especially if you don't follow the instructions that I gave you. That's okay. We can compensate anyway. And let's see, is there somebody below there? Yeah, so Yogesh Verma. So he's also satisfied the criteria. Okay, so first thing you should do in the lab is create the GitLab account according to the instructions and log in to OKD according to the instructions. And then that will give me all of the users, and I can set that up by the time you need to do something with it at the end, which is at the very end of the lab. Okay. So with the lab, I basically walk you through, building a hello, or a login example, such as I went through in class from scratch, using an Eclipse format, native Eclipse, and then going through and doing the same thing with Maven, which is like Maven projects use a different format, which is on the one hand annoying. On the other hand, it has a lot more powerful features. So that's where you want to get to in the end. And then I give you URL to pull down the version that I created, which was for chapter 1, which is here. Then and with all of those, you should be able to run them on Wildfly. And then once you've got that down, then I have you create a sample project on the cloud just to get that going and make sure that that works. So create a project and create a project that somebody else wrote, which actually is WordPress, which is a very big project written in PHP. That's okay. You're not going to have to muck with it. And then if you do that, you can run a project with a database, and that's a good proof of concept on getting the cloud stuff working. And so that's about 4 or 5 pieces of things. And this is all getting started, so I'm not expecting you to completely understand absolutely everything about all of those bits and pieces, but hopefully the instructions I gave you should walk you through it. Okay. Now, and I also give you some resources. So if you are interested in getting up to speed with the cloud stuff, I gave you a reference to learn.openshift.com. That's a good resource which has probably 100 times as much stuff as you would actually need. Okay, but the very, like using OpenShift, and if you go into that, then you find that there's, I guess, 8 little mini courses there. And you can sort of pick and choose which ones might be useful to you, or none of them. Okay. And if you like working through things by hand while you have time before things get totally swamped, that's not a bad resource. And now tell me, sometimes students come in having used Docker in like their 2000 level projects course, sometimes not. Did you use Docker already? Anybody? Okay, so let's go back to chat. Okay, so let's see. So sorry. Okay, so everybody who's here or not here, and okay, so all these nodes are, I guess, with Docker, right? From the timestamps. Okay, so that's next term. MedHat is going to want to use Docker for things. It turns out that we can do everything this term, get stuff into the cloud, have it run perfectly, and not use Docker at all. But it's part of the conceptual underpinnings. So it's one of these nice to have things. So like the first challenge, let's see if I can get a white board, which I've never used. So let's see, whiteboard. Okay, so my drawing is from Hunger. So what we're starting off with. Okay, so we've got laptop. Okay, so pretend that's this laptop. And inside the laptop, we've got, and let's see, can I do, what happens to my text? Can I type? Yes. Okay. And then other things that you've, come on, draw. Oh. Okay. I lost my, let's see if I unclick that. No. Somehow my little cursor disappeared. So we'll go back to that. Okay, so then we've also got a server. All right, so and then you've got editors like Eclipse and so on. So we've got all those installed. And the other thing is that now we've also got, without really commenting on it, a browser, right? So the browser is going to be talking back and forth to a server, and that's using the HTTP protocol. And that's exactly what you use when you browse anywhere. I'm sort of relying on your having a basic understanding of HTTP from your web courses last year. And we might have to go down to a deeper level of understanding that, but I'm pretty sure that you covered the basic things like get, put, maybe post for sure. Okay, those are the basic HTML methods. So what will happen is that your browser sends a GET to the server, comes back an HTML page, typically. Or it could be a JSON packet. You also at some point saw JSON a little bit in the JavaScript part of your courses. Okay. So JSON being JSON. And so your browser has to have a backend to talk to get something back. And that could be a web server, could be an application server. There are different historical names for these things, but nowadays pretty much everybody uses some sort of thing fancier than a basic text web server. So Wildfly is one of those. And so your browser needs something to talk to. So it's talking to a server. Wildfly is what we're using. And that catches the requests and sends back responses. And so you really need to know what happens when you type something in the URL for a browser, hit enter, it then will send off a GET request to the URL that you put in the browser window. Something comes back. Maybe you get a form. With a form, so you click on a button or a link, and it probably generates a post that goes somewhere. And then maybe back will come another page. So all of that is going to be mediated by a server and also by some JavaScript running on your browser. And so initially, a server is something that you're having to install on your machine. Okay, but now anything that you can run pretty much on a computer, you can run in a container. And if you have a container, then you can run that in a container cloud. So I could have a container cloud that runs Wildfly in one of its containers and also has your web application. So without installing it on your laptop, you could still run a Wildfly application by using the cloud. But generally what people will do is they will have a local server running on their laptop to develop first. And then once they get things working, then they'll deploy it in some cloud. And often there's several layers. They'll put one for test and then eventually a production one. And as well, we've got another technology called Maven. And what Maven will do is it will download the resources that it needs. So it is possible to have Maven download an application server to run an application. Or you can have Maven, if you've already got Wildfly or some other application server, you can have Maven interact with that. So there are lots of possibilities. And so the lab is sort of walking through the big pieces of them. Right? But once you get the hang of it, it turns out that, so to get something running on an application server on your laptop, there's not much more work to stick it up in the cloud. You're not doing anything radically different. And in this week's lab, you should walk through all those pieces. So any questions on any of that? That's just sort of a big picture version. And let's see, so I wonder what happens. So if I stop sharing that, I wonder if it's disappeared. Is it still there? Huh, interesting. It's still there. Not all of these pieces of Zoom have I used before, obviously. Okay, so who are we getting for? Okay, so I don't see any more. Oh, there's Keyboom. Okay, good. So we're getting a few more people. So at this point, I will go away and let you work on the lab and deal with questions. And sort of by the next in the next 20 minutes, I should see everybody's new user accounts in OKD, which is the very beginning of the lab.
Oh, well, Bruce,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
So I'm trying to do the VPN part of it.
Right.
And I'm on this step where I have to type my vpn.bcit.ca and I click download, but it says resolving URL failed. So I'm wondering what I should do from there.
So on the, this is from the lab document? Or
Yes.
from which, because the on the lab document, I was having to guess which of the IT services things was the best place for that. Let me just find my lab document, because I did go there, but labs, labs row. And let's share this again. Yeah, because that turns out to be a relatively critical thing. Now, I guess there's about 5 students that found it no problem, or did it earlier. So let's go back. So the getting a VPN. So I suggested using this one. And see, it's difficult because I'm not a student. And so which operating system are we talking about?
Well, actually, this Windows that I was downloading on is Windows 8. I'm not sure if that has to do anything with it.
Could be, like I don't think Windows 8 is even supported by Microsoft anymore, is it?
Oh, I'm not sure.
So the basically, what I would do is open a ticket with or call the help desk and ask them about that.
Okay.
Okay, because all of the documentation is going to say Windows 10.
I see. Okay.
So I don't know. I'm not in IT services. I would guess that would be a problem. If you're using Windows, then well, okay. So Windows 8 is about, I don't know, what is that? 8 years ago, 5 years ago, long time ago. So there's a lot of stuff that probably isn't going to work with Windows 8. Unless you got enough. Now, okay, in any case, like, okay, so how much memory is on that?
I'm not too sure. Probably not too much though.
because you're gonna need like we do have a um, minimum computer requirement size. Did you get that email?
Yes, actually right now on the Zoom, I'm on my computer that has all the requirements. It's Windows 10. It's just,
Okay.
uh, should I download it on here just to log in?
So why don't you use that one?
It's just the VirtualBox doesn't download here. Even though it says all the virtualization is turned on, the VirtualBox just wouldn't work.
Well, if you're running Windows, okay, so haha, maybe, and I say maybe because if you have Hyper-V turned on, then no other virtualizations will work. If you have Hyper-V turned off, then like you can only use sort of one virtual system at a time on Windows. And their native one is Hyper-V, which is, I mean, I've used it. There's no major issues with it. But if you have Hyper-V turned on, and like, how would you find that out? Well, open this in the start menu, type Hyper-V, and see if you get a Hyper-V manager.
It just says turn Windows features on or off.
Okay, and well, you can go there and see, make sure that Hyper-V is turned off. That's your Windows 10 thing you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Um, Now, what we're doing this term, actually, we don't need any virtualization. I would say. So if VirtualBox doesn't work, such is life. That certainly is not going to hurt you in the short term. So I would just put down as an interesting problem to try and solve. Windows 8, see, like Eclipse takes a fair amount of storage. Virtual machines take a fair amount of storage. Wildfly takes a fair amount of storage. In the Windows 8 timeframe, you probably don't have enough memory. But again, that's just off the top of my head. So you probably, if you have a Windows 10 box with at least 16 gigs of RAM, I would use that.
Okay.
8 gigs, you could probably do it, but it would be slow. Less than 8 gigs, it's going to be extremely painful. Just rough rule of thumb. But and generally the way memory prices have gone for the most part, if you have something that is in the last couple of years, then it should have enough memory. Okay. Yeah. So that's not, I didn't really solve any of your problems there, but any other questions? What have we got for? Okay, so a few more students showing up. Is that totally? Okay, so there's one. So we're sort of getting there. So let's see. Can we just add? Yeah, I don't think there's a nice GUI way. But maybe so. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like Okay, so I can add you there probably. Yeah, so I just need to go through and add everybody that I've got. And good. Okay, so any other questions, or I will let you work on the lab stuff. And let's see, OKD login. It's on the, so the OKD login is on the, I've got a link in the lab on it. So, and so where's that document? Well, Zoom sort of takes over my whole screen. There we go. So down here where it says user the GitLab account to log into, that's the link to the OKD login. So if you click on now, as I say, you have to have a VPN set up to be able to see it. Now, if you don't have VPN working, what can you do? Well, okay, you can create an account in GitLab because that's available outside of BCIT. You won't be able to log in to OKD yet, but everything else down here, you can do the lab all the way down to the very last, do something in the cloud section. Okay, so if you, again, I tried to get people to log in to OKD so that I could set up the, put you in the students group. But if you don't go in right away, I can always add you in later, so that's not a big deal. Okay, and let's see. Okay, so what other question? Okay, so when does the lab due? Well, next week we'll go on to something else. So next Monday, generally the labs are due the week following. OKD is having a hard time. Well, actually, OKD is doing okay. So Adam, what was the question on that? Yeah, somehow the instructors don't seem to be using Discord that much as the students. I don't think I've even got Discord installed, so you're relatively safe from me. Good. Okay, thanks, Adam. One step in the lab. Okay, so do I want to highlight anything? Okay, so we talked a lot about that. So then we get down to the JSF part. And now, okay, so this, by the way, part of this lab as well is getting all these 50,000 tools set up as well. So here I'm assuming that you have Eclipse working, that you have Java installed, and that you've configured Eclipse correctly, which should all be talked about in the tools document. Okay, and let's see, so Abir, what particular step are you having trouble with? Because it could be a common problem that everybody is having.
Abir, is that the step that we all got stuck on? Is that the same one? Okay, Abir, Bruce actually changed the lab, and I think what the problem was is we have to add, like right click the Java source folder, make sure the core JSF userbean.java, add it to the Java source folder, right click it, go to build path, and then click add to build path, and that might fix it. I'm still working on it, but I'm thinking that was probably the problem.
Which step?
The step. So we managed to get all the way to step 7.
Oh, well, that's pretty good.
But then we got an error. Like probably 5 of us got an error. I think it's because we were using the version of the lab that you published over the weekend instead of the one you did this morning. We were getting an error that was
over the weekend. Okay, I had so basically there was. I think I only uploaded it once. So you'd had the version from last year, which was completely different. Well, quite a bit different. And then the version that I uploaded over the weekend. Now, to avoid that, I hid all the other ones so you wouldn't get stale ones. Okay, so let's see. Target reach user resolved to null. Okay. So Scott, yeah. So that error. Boy, is that a frequent error that can be very mysterious until you figure it out for the first time. So here, can you see my eclipse here?
Yeah.
Okay. And so we were talking about, is this a Lab 1 login one?
No, that's the.
Or is it the hello?
It's just the regular login one. The Lab 1 login, that's for Maven, right?
Right, that's for Maven. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so the login one. And so this is the one that I had you create new JSF project and so on. So most of the issues wind up being fixed on this configure build path page. So I put in a thing to make sure that this tells it where it's going to build, find Java code to build. And I've noticed it very frequently, maybe on Macs, maybe not. When you say new JSF project, it doesn't put anything there. So it gives you the folder, but it doesn't make it a source folder. So that's okay. So basically you check that on that page. If there's nothing there, then you say add folder. And then you pick, you highlight the one that you want to add. Okay, which is Java source. Now, once you do that, then you sort of have to go back and let's see. Interesting, I'm getting, okay, so it's not showing me my proper menu here with Zoom, so that's exciting. But basically you need to go under projects, clean, so it rebuilds the project with the new configuration. And so the basic problem is it's not finding a user because it never compiled the code. So there was no user to find. So that sort of explains the error message. Now, this sort of thing will happen to you from time to time. So it's important. So if I go over to like a web sort of viewpoint, Java EE, so I have a server tab. And there are several useful things to pick up along the ways. One is that if you have a project, so here's this login project. If you right click on the project, you can look at the deployed files by doing show in file browser. That's what's actually running on the server. So most of the things that should work automatically, if they don't, you can fix by knowing what they should have done and going to see if it happened, and then if not, working your way backwards. So if I look in the if I do this project show in file browser, can everybody see that? I think, okay, good. Then I pull up a file explorer type thing in whatever operating system is. So this is the project. So I've got the two JSF pages. And then there's a web inf directory. And that has the web XML configuration information, which we talked about briefly. The compiled Java goes into classes under the typical package hierarchy. So here's the compiled version of that user bean. So if there's nothing there, then I got to figure out why that was, which then tracks back to the source directory. And if you change the source directory and nothing shows up, then you have to scratch your head and figure out, well, what can I try next? And oh, it didn't pick up the change configuration, so I got to rebuild the project. That's sort of your thought process. And I guess that's the main thing that can go wrong with this particular example, starting with new JSF project in Eclipse. So that's why I did put an explicit thing on that, because that's a super common problem. It's going to be very mysterious the first time you see it. Because at the very beginning, you don't know what stuff's supposed to look like. So you don't know what's missing. Well, that's okay, now you do, a little bit more anyway. And now a couple of things. One is that if you right click on a project, full publish takes everything from Eclipse and deploys it to the server again. So if you're not sure whether or not something managed to make it down, you can always do a full publish and basically send it down again. The other thing that you'll get the hang of is when you're making changes, okay, if I change a web page, let's see, that's the Maven one. Unfortunately, Maven looks different. Okay, so here's the login one. So it has web content. Okay, and I have my JSF pages. There's one of them. Boom. Okay, so when you make a change to a web page, you don't have to restart anything. As soon as you visit this page, it will pull in the latest version. But if you make a change to Java code, once a class is loaded, it's not that easy to reload the same class. So if you make a change to your Java, then you need to basically restart your project, not the whole server, just your project. And doing a full publish will restart your project, among other things. And if so from the server, I can start the server. Now, when you do run as, by the way, it does a whole bunch of things for you automatically, which you can do in bits and pieces. So if here the server is stopped, which we see stopped, I can click on the little icon and it will start it. I watch carefully. Failed start. Haha. Okay, that's good. And why didn't it start? So then I look at, oops. I've got these. Okay. I didn't really want to drag that up there. Can I drag this up there? So let's see, server boot has failed. So if it doesn't start cleanly, then I need to go through and figure out why is that. And okay, so I found a duplicate deployment because I had because I was playing around with Maven. So let's see. Intro. And Maven. Interesting. Mm-hmm. 100, most of these things down. Back to where they should be. Okay. And where's my console? I want that over here. Okay, so it's unhappy because it's got two deployments of the Lab1 login. Okay, so one of which I deployed by running from Eclipse, doing run as, and the other one that I deployed through Maven. So if I go back to the server one and undeploy that one. And then with any luck, that will resolve that issue. Let's just see if that fixes it. Unfortunately, there's two different ways of deploying things onto Eclipse. See, now wasn't that easy? Now it's working. And okay, so where's my? Let me get my chat back. Oh, we're just about break time. Okay, so how many people noticed that I did something that didn't work? Anybody? And it came with a mysterious error message. Okay, and it looked hopeless. Maybe. Okay, so, but the error message actually said what the problem was: duplicate resource. And so then, to fix it, it had to occur to me how I might have gotten duplicate resources. And then I could take away one of them. And actually, I tried to use the Maven one, but that requires the server to be running. So that didn't work. So I took away the one that Eclipse had put in, and problem solved. And you'll find that in various other situations. And it could be you find it right away. It could be you don't. It could be it would have taken me 3 hours to find it myself. Who knows? Each one is different. But okay, so let's. I'm going to formally take a break until the half hour because you have to have a 10-minute break each time. And we'll go from there. If anybody has questions, I can answer that if I can do quickly, and then I may take a break in that too. So, okay, so Yogesh says, okay, so Scott, are you okay with the solution to that? On the
Yes, thank you.
And yours should be working now if you did.
It is. It's working.
So it's actually running.
Yep. Yeah,
And it
everything's
goes,
good. Now I need to fix Maven. That wasn't working either, but I'm sure I figured it out now.
well, that's okay. Well, I mean, take, small celebration that the first one worked.
I already celebrated.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a lot of bits and pieces that have to go together to get that to work. Okay, and then Yogesh is saying unable to import the JavaX Enterprise and inject packages, because that, okay. So if you, okay, let's see. And okay, so I am screen sharing. Okay, so Eclipse, now where it is depends on Windows or Mac. This is one of the few things that is different. So on the Mac, it's under Preferences, under Eclipse. On Windows, it's Preferences under Window. Okay, but one way or the other, you have to go to, if you go to the Preferences tab, then you need to have a server runtime environment set up for Wildfly. And then once you've got that, then if you right click on the project and go to build path, because a lot of this winds up being build path, and then libraries. And this is not a modular project, but it's not getting too upset by the fact that it's got the JRE on the module path side. But you need to have a server set of libraries. So that's what this is. And that's where it's getting those imports. So if it can't do it, then it will generally be because you don't have the Wildfly in your build path. So if it's not there, okay, now it's not there. And so then I can go through and add a library. And okay, it's a server runtime. Next. And I've only got one that I've added in this Eclipse, so I select it, and now it's back. So that should finish the sort of thing that Yogesh ran into. What is the source on the build path? Okay, well the source should look like this. And again, we're talking about Ant-based Eclipse projects, which is what I'm looking at on the first one. So at the moment, on this build path, the two critical tabs are, well, the source, just to make sure, and then the libraries. And I don't really like on the module path. I should be able to move it down. Move it down. Yeah. Let's take my life in my own hands and remove Java and add Java back. So where's Java? Here, system library and workspace default is fine. Okay, so I've got it down where I want it, and it should still work. Okay. Okay, I'm going to fill up my. I'll be back in 2. Okay, I think I've answered all the questions that were in the chat. I'm going to go and start adding users into groups. And if you have any other questions, then just say something.
Hello, Bruce.
Uh-huh.
I'm just wondering if the thing went through. I got it to work on my Windows 8.
Oh, good. Okay, so by the thing, you mean the login?
Yes, I was able to log in.
Right, so, and as Ivan. So yeah, you're there.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure. Do I need to do
Now,
anything else? Like create
well, no,
a...
I do have a question. No, on that, because there was also there was another Vaganov account. Did you create two accounts on GitLab or only the Ivan one?
Yes, I believe I created the first one, but I used the wrong email. So I wanted to use the other email or something like that. Should I delete the first one?
Okay, so let me I'm just going over and looking at the users. Um,
Oh, I think it was
okay.
my username that was wrong. You wanted it in like a format, so I just made another account.
Yeah, so I can delete the, so let's just wait, go to users. Okay, so, yeah, because there's um, okay, so there's an Ivan Vaganov and a John Vaganov, and you want the Ivan one
Yeah,
uh, because of the email that you wanted, right?
I believe so, yes.
Um, and okay, so so I will keep the I Vaganov one, and I will delete there's a John 9V one.
Yeah, yeah. So that's because of the username. I wanted to do the username by your convention there.
Right. Okay. Uh, and great. Okay, so now you've just got the one. So everything is copacetic.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Yes.
Bruce,
Uh-huh.
I'm still getting the error for the javax.inject and javax.enterprise packages. It's saying that it cannot resolve the package name.
Okay, so okay, so you want to and let's see some other questions down here. So what's that supposed to so and okay, so who was that was just saying?
Yogesh.
Okay, Yogesh. Okay, because he's in the pitch chat. So okay, so you want to share your screen?
Sure.
And then we'll talk about songs.
Desktop. Can you see my screen?
Yep, I can see it. Okay.
Yeah, so if I
okay, so if you right click on the Okay, so Java source. Okay, so right click on the project, the login project itself, and do build path, and then configure build path. And okay, so libraries. Yeah, I moved the GRE one down to class path, but it seems to work where you have it. And so click on the source tab, please, because that should be fine too. Okay, so that's right. And so libraries. And did you make any changes to this at all?
No, it's been the same since the beginning.
Okay, so so apply and close. Okay, and just for the heck of it, try go to projects. So what are we talking about? So this is Windows, right? So if you go to project and then clean, okay, and then you've only got one project, so it's, and then clean, and then it should,
It seems to do nothing. I've tried this multiple times.
okay, so that's interesting. And okay, so so if we so right click on the project again and go to properties, which is down all the way at the bottom. And so open the Java so Java compiler on the left, and click on that Java compiler, and say modifications. Okay, so I'd say apply because it looks like, okay, and Java compliance should be 11. So that's fine. And now something else happened, because otherwise it wouldn't have warned you that you had to do that apply. And so go down to server. And is that one set up correctly? Yeah, that looks fine. And targeted runtimes. And that's consistent. Okay, so that's good. And I guess project facets. There could be something there. Okay, so dynamic JavaScript. Okay, so all of that looks good. Okay, so apply and close. And now if you click on the problems in the lower left at the bottom screen, okay, so name cannot be solved. And let's see, so I'm just looking at the login, Java source. And okay, so that's interesting. And let's see anything strange with the path, login, Java source, and so on. Package, okay. And so what it's looking like, see, it's not picking up any of the Java EE libraries. Now, is your path for the, if you go back to the server,
The preferences?
so yeah, you can do it on preferences. And so go down to the runtime environments. Okay, and click on the Wildfly one. Well, no, on the previous page. So just click on, okay, so click on that one and edit just to see. Okay, so this, okay, that's a very strange place that you unzipped it to. Is that where it actually is?
Yes, looks like it.
Okay, and is it possible that, okay, so this is on, this seems to be on a Mac, and
Yep.
it, so is the downloads directory being backed up to the cloud, perhaps?
The
Oh, and the other
download
thing,
directory.
see, like, did you actually unzip it?
Yeah, it should be unzipped. I can just browse and see. Yeah, it's unzipped.
Okay. Because that's strange to have an unzipped folder, or did you create that unzipped folder?
Yeah, it's I created that unzipped
Yeah,
folder.
okay, so it looks unzipped. Yeah, so should work there. It's just unusual, but that's okay. And okay, now I'm using 1.8 for it. Now, do you have a 1.8 installed?
Not sure. I think it's the default setting, or is there a way I can check?
Well, if you go back to the Java, so compilers, I'm just wondering
Java.
what, under Java installed JREs. Okay, so you have Java 11 installed, which is fine. That's what I would expect it. Now I wonder what mine picked up. So I'm just sort of going off and looking and seeing what I've got here.
Is it supposed to be Java EE instead of Java SE? Or is it just fine?
So on my execution environment, it's Java SE11. So, especially since you don't have Java 8 installed, I would change it to Java SE11, which you've got there, and finish, see if that fixes it.
Do you have to close Eclipse for that to happen?
No, shouldn't have to. Does your server start? Like if you click on the server tab and highlight the server part and just click on the green arrow. So if you highlight the server itself, one line up, and then you got a little green arrow. Yeah, you can do that too. That will work. But there's an icon for it. Okay. Yeah, so that tells me that your Wildfly is not configured correctly because the server itself won't start.
Interesting, because I had set up the document previously, so I was pretty sure that Wildfly was set up, but yeah, it seems like Wildfly is not set up properly.
Now, if you, okay, so easiest check, by the way, this is all stuff that's useful for everybody, believe it or not. If you open up a terminal window, okay, and you change directories to where you have Wildfly, which by the way, you should be able to do CD, if you type CD dollar Java underscore home, sorry, JBoss underscore home.
Interesting. Okay. It's saying no such file or directory.
Okay, so maybe you didn't set up JBoss. What happens if you echo $JBoss home? Okay, now there's in parallel, there's some good Oracle discussion in the chat, which is potentially relevant to everybody who went through the database course. So I'll, if you don't get that resolved, I'll comment on that in just a second. Okay, and it says that you don't have any.
Sorry,
Okay,
I might have
it
to
looks like
check.
it looks like your JBoss home isn't consistent with where it actually is, according to another CD doesn't work.
That's interesting. Because that should be in my bash profile. So /dot.
Well, you're actually using Z shell. Yeah, so it should be in ZSHRC. Okay, now while you're looking at that, if you okay, if you're using Oracle, then you have to be sure that you're not starting it up, because it will take the ports that Wildfly or Apache or any other web server needs to run.
Right.
Because Oracle uses a web application to configure itself. So the main thing to do with that is to be sure that you're not automatically starting Oracle. And
Right.
on the Windows, I've actually never tried running Oracle from a Mac. So assuming that most of you are running Windows with Oracle, then if you open the services application, then that has all of the services, and it says whether or not they auto start up or if they're started up manually. And you change all the Oracle things so they're started up manually, and don't start them. The default, I believe, is starting up whenever you boot your system on the Windows side.
I forgot where my Z shell profile was, but all the environment variables were set up in there. They're not in the CSHRC, they're in the ZSH profile. I can't seem to find where I put that. Okay, I'll try setting up Wildfly correctly. Again, seems like there's a problem in that. I still have to go.
Well, I would say it's probably not with Wildfly itself. It's probably because all you do to set up Wildfly is you unzip it in a place that you have write permissions to.
Right.
And and you can check it by changing directory to the bin file of where, like inside of the Wildfly directory, there's a bin directory, and inside of that it has a startup command. And if you run that, you can run it from the command line, and it should start cleanly. And if it doesn't, then Eclipse probably isn't going to work either. So check to make sure that your environment variable is set up correctly wherever it's set up. And so if that's where Wildfly actually is, and then change to the bin directory, cd bin ls. If you're on Windows, you type dir instead, and then type ./standalone.sh. Enter. Okay, aha, a permissions thing. Okay, so that would have bitten you from Eclipse as well, probably.
Unable to
Yeah.
access jar file.
Okay, so these are, so I would say first thing, do create an apps directory under your normal user place. That's fine. Move Wildfly there. Because you're running into various Mac permissions things with the downloads directory. And by the way, whatever operating system you're running, there will be issues on various permissions. And with the Mac especially, you often have to, if you're running a new command that didn't come from the Apple Store, which half of them won't, then you'll have to allow the permissions to run the command.
Right. Yeah, looks like. So I will have to update this location in my environment variable as well now, right?
Correct.
Sure.
Well, I don't think Wildfly requires the environment variable to start up.
Right.
Okay, but the moral of the story of all this, by the way, is if something doesn't work, there should be a command line way of running it, which is more fundamental. Make sure that works as well. Otherwise, that can uncover the actual problem.
Right.
Okay, so
Sure.
So yeah, to do something in the cloud is also part of this lab if you get there. Java 8 should be fine. There's nothing that I'm specifically doing that's using Java 11 in this course. Okay, in terms of Daniel to everyone, you don't have to actually kill any processes. Stopping the service should be enough. Now, see, I can't really show you because I don't have Oracle installed. Although I can get a Windows up and running. Okay, now let's see, where was, okay, so Sung, did you have an additional issue there? Or is it the Oracle problem? Okay, good. Okay, so Max, what errors are you getting when starting your server? The old instructions. I don't think the server instructions changed. Okay, so that's one. Okay, so if we, what do we expect? Let me just, okay. Okay, so cancel. Okay, so so what I expect to see is, and let me stop this server. Okay, so I'm stopping the server. And if I go back to servers now, notice that under the server, I've got a couple of projects. And these are the ones that I've deployed from Eclipse. Ones that you deploy from Maven won't show up here. Now, if I'm not working on a project, then I probably want to undeploy it, which I can do by clicking on remove, right-click on the project and remove it. If I have a whole bunch of projects I'm working on, then an error in one of them can confuse me when I'm working on a different one, because they'll all appear on the console. So what I can do is remove all of them. It's not touching the source code, it's still there. I can always get them back. And go down to only the server with no projects. And then if I start the server, it'll go over to the console and it should come up with no errors. Okay. And now I know that the server is working, and any errors I get further are going to be with respect to specific projects of mine. And even with this, I should then be able to go to a browser. So here's the browser. And I should be able to go to localhost :8080 and get a Wildfly page. And if that works, then your basic server is working. Okay. So Max, if you remove all the projects, do you get a clean boot? As we see here. Okay. So then you add in the A project. Okay, so that means that there's not really a server problem. So now if I add in the and actually, okay, so how if I right click on the project to run as on the server, then it will deploy it. Another way of deploying it is go back to the server and right click on the server and click on the add and remove. And then I get the projects that Eclipse has seen. And so login was one, I can then add it to the server. And now it appears on the server. And then it will get deployed to the server. And then I will get messages from the server as I deploy it. And again, I shouldn't get any errors here when I deploy it. And then when I run it, which, by the way, once it's deployed, it is running. That's the other confusing thing. What does it mean when I run an application? Well, it goes through several steps. When I right click on an application and do run on server, it will deploy it if it's not already deployed. And then it will open a pseudo browser inside of Eclipse, and it will navigate to the URL that is associated with that project. Once it's deployed, it is running. So the run as is a little bit of a misnomer. So once it's running, so at the moment it says it's deployed, and what is it telling me about okay, lots of lines getting the thing deployed. And let's see. So I've also got a one that I'm not seeing, which is the Maven one, which I deployed through Maven. And okay, this says it's registered web context is /login. So that means that to navigate to it, I need to go localhost 8080/login. So if I go back to my browser, where I had my Wildfly thing, and then if I say localhost 8080/login, then I go to my application, and then I can check and see any error messages. Nope, no error messages. So then I try and run it. So sure, why not? And then log in, goes to another page. Still no errors on the console. So that one is good. So then you can see, you can tie the errors on the console to something that you did. Okay. So now the okay, so and let's see. Okay, so Max has got one thing. Okay, now Max first. So when you deployed, you got errors. Okay, so then the let's see, application. Okay, so it's Sun JSF implementation. So you don't have the source code for that line, so you can't look into that. It wouldn't help you anyway. So basically, there's somewhere in that okay, it may be that your web XML was wrong. You basically have to go back and look at the pieces. One of these pieces, may have an error in it, where you're cutting and pasting. Okay. So if one of you wants to share the screen, I can walk you through it as well. So if Max wants to share his screen first.
Yeah, I can share my screen. Oh, it says I can't share my screen while someone else is sharing.
No, that's true. Yeah, so I stopped sharing. Go for it.
Cool. Can you see that?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so this is the error I get when I try running. There's a bunch of these.
Well, okay, just like running or deploying, two separate things.
I think it's
back.
running. I'll terminate this.
So go back and okay, so the server is stopped, which is interesting. So remove the project. So right click and remove. Okay, and then start the server. So you can either right click start or click on the start. And then we wait and see what happens. Info, all good. And listening. Okay, so it's finished. So
yeah,
that's good. 2.3 seconds. Excellent. Okay, so the next thing is we go back to the server tab.
Do I want to close this first by pressing the stop button?
No.
Okay.
Don't have to. And then right click on that and add and remove, because we've already seen that project. And which one was it? Interesting. Okay, so add that and then finish. And then it will take you back to the console again. And you'll see messages relating to adding it in. Okay, so it failed to add.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you go back and you look at the very first of those and you see what it's telling you. Sometimes it's the very first, sometimes it's not. Okay. And so enabled. That's interesting. Okay, so so the first thing you got was Java X faces exception, unable to find CGI bean manager.
Yeah.
Okay. So assuming that you installed, okay, so we're talking about the login project. So why don't you scroll down on the left so you can see the login project. And interesting. So assuming that you're pointing to a valid wildfly and that wildfly is in, we're talking about Windows here, right?
Yeah, Windows 10.
And where is wildfly unzipped?
That is a great question.
Only you can answer it though.
Yeah.
Under apps, I hope.
I don't know if it's under apps. It might just be in. Could it be?
It shouldn't be under program files. I yelled at somebody else for that.
I see. Hold on, I'm gonna look at this in another window.
Because it's not a Windows application. And
okay, my wildfly is unzipped in the documents folder.
Okay, well that's a doom.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the problem with this, but the documents folder has got a good chance of being backed up into whatever Windows calls their cloud storage.
Yep.
And nothing is going to work like it's meant for documents, not software,
Yeah.
and definitely not executable software.
Right.
So I'm not saying that's causing this problem, but that is a definite doom.
So would it be enough to just move it to the other thing, or would I have to reinstall?
Well, okay, so stop it first. But yeah, just move the whole wildfly thing under like your app. You have an apps directory. That's a good place to put it.
Okay.
I'm not saying that will fix this problem, but there's it might. I mean, but that's a good practice anyway.
Yeah.
So like basically, I've got on my machines. If it's Windows, I've got a C/apps. If it's a Mac, I've got my user directory /apps.
Right. Okay.
Those are good places to put things like Maven, Wildfly, Ant. Any sort of application that isn't installed by the system.
Gotcha.
If it's installed by the system, you can let it put it wherever it wants to. Hopefully, those people debugged it.
Yeah.
And then I also have a projects directory to put software projects.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have documents in the documents directory.
Yes.
But on the Mac, I've got a docs directory just to avoid having everything backed up in the Apple cloud.
Oh, I see.
Because I'm, like you quickly fill up the free space they give you. And I've got backup anyway, so there's no point in paying for theirs. Okay. But now what you're gonna have to do is reconfigure Eclipse to point to the right place.
Okay.
So once you move Wildfly, delete the one on Eclipse and add it in again.
Is that in preferences?
It's in preferences under server and server runtime. Okay, so just take that one and delete it, remove, yeah. And I didn't notice that you stopped it, but then add in.
So add in Wildfly.
Yeah, Wildfly 20 runtime, create a local server. Okay, and find it.
So did I select the folder or?
Select folder. Okay, and it should have a home directory that makes sense. Okay, the other thing that you didn't do, which is just cosmetic, is when you're unzipping things on Windows, for those of you that are running Windows, you'll often get a duplicate directory, as you see
Yeah.
there. So that's sort of useless. So I would move the lower one up one directory. But
Okay.
that probably won't hurt you, except that Windows has had max links on path names, which people occasionally run into. But that should be okay if that's where it is. And execution is 1.8. Now, do you actually have 1.8 installed?
I think I'm okay. I'm pretty sure I successfully moved it here.
Yeah, what I'm saying is if you go down, if you click on that, so you've got,
So I select this now.
well, wait, yes, but what's inside of that? Same thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, no, well, there's only, that's only showing one level. Okay, in other words, I don't see duplicate Wildfly 20.1 there.
There isn't anymore. I fixed it or
Okay.
changed it.
Okay, so they have to change it on Eclipse as well.
Yeah. So I can just select the folder, right?
So it should be, yeah, just select it. And that should fix it. Yep, looks good. And what about the executable? Do you have, so the runtime JRE, do you have Java SE 1.8?
Java SE 1.8.
Like, what did you install? Because it might be that, or it might be Java 11.
I downloaded Java. Wait, I gotta check this out.
Okay, so cancel. Go and look at your Java JRE, which is going to be same directory, but up. So Java install JREs. Okay, so you're using Java 11. So you might as well use Java 11 for this. It should work either way because Java 11 can execute Java 8 stuff, but
Right.
and do we still have, no.
I gotta fix the directories changed. So
yeah, I know for everybody this is not brilliant television, but
yeah.
okay, and then change that to Java 11. I would. And then next, just to see what's there. Okay, and that's fine. Then finish. And then apply and close. And then go back to the servers tab. And you might have a duplicate one on the bottom, the servers tab.
It says there's like errors here now on the left.
Yeah, well, that's because that's okay. Click on the servers tab first.
Sure.
Okay, so you've only got one of them there. That's good. So try starting it just to see if it starts.
Oh, not anymore.
Oh, that's going to be the like when you moved it, you also have the project that was deployed. Okay, and if we go back to the project, if your build path is going to be bad, so you have to correct that because you can't find the Java EE stuff. So if you go configure build path and libraries, and okay, so then I need to down under click on class path and then add library, and then a server runtime. And then add that back in because it's in a different place.
And apply and close.
Okay, so interesting. No, just apply it because it's saying unbound, so that's odd. Okay, so I wonder if it could. Okay, so highlight that and edit because it looks like it could not find the thing that it. So that should be the only one. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, so cancel that. And so if we go back, so check the runtime that you just in preferences, because it looks like you couldn't find it there. So Java, and click on that and edit, make sure that the directories are okay. Okay, that's where it was. Okay, so finish. And so apply and close, yeah. Okay, so go back to the login and right click on that and click on properties. And click on see targeted runtimes. It should pick it up there as well. Oh, say apply. Okay, and then click on that. Okay, and apply.
Oh, it seems like the errors are gone in this.
Yeah, and okay, then apply and close. Okay, and okay, so now we're and so now the next thing is to go through and check. So it could, assuming, well, you might as well go back to the server and redeploy your. Okay, let's see. Okay, so that's interesting. So right click and do add delete projects.
Sorry, like this?
Yeah, okay, so it says that nothing's there. Okay, so that's okay. So something is slightly out, so I want to look at something else, so cancel it. Okay, now the other thing, if we right click on the server and do show in up close to the top, show in, and then file browser. Okay, then a file explorer thing should pop up.
Oh, yeah, sorry, it's on this other side. Let me move it over.
Okay. Okay, okay, so everybody should actually see this for a second. So this still has so the WAR file for the login is still there. And it's labeled it as failed. So that file that's below is basically a marker package. And if you have one of those, then it's not going to try and redo it because it failed. So if you wind up getting a failed project, then you need to either replace that with a do deploy one, or it should be enough just to delete the failed one. Now in this case, because like I would delete the login war itself and the login war failed message, both those.
Huh. I need permission to delete it, but I'm the administrator.
Okay, so that's interesting. Strange Windows permission thing.
Yeah.
Now, to make sure, okay, so cancel out of that. Is your server stopped? Stop it. Like, make sure it is stopped. Because the file is it running? Start. Yeah. So stop the server. because if a file is open, it won't be able to delete it. Okay, so now I'll go back and try and delete the project. This is like basic cleanup stuff.
Oh, there we go.
And delete that one too. Okay, good. Yeah, it was because the files were in use.
Yeah.
Okay, so now everything is clean. So now go back to the add delete one on the server, for instance, and move it over. And then see what happens when you start it. And probably the same thing, but
Full publish or?
you sure, why not? Just to be on the safe side, make sure everything got over, synchronized. So now it's done. So now you can start the server. Okay, and okay, so now,
Should you go to the first one or?
yeah, so yeah, sure. Okay, so let's fix a few configuration issues that you did, but it hasn't actually
Right.
fixed your problem. And okay, so CDI Bean Manager. So what's that? Well, I only verbally use that terminology because we're mainly talking about it starting this week. That's the inject stuff. Okay, so it what you and let's see, web configuration, faces config. Okay, who knows if you have something strange there? Okay, so let's look at the configuration files, which, so open the web XML, for instance. Okay, and so web app version 4. Okay, so this is not very well indented.
No, that much is true.
So that's odd. So that makes it a little bit hard to read, but okay, it looks close to, now let's see, so welcome file list. Okay, that's what I told you. And context param. Okay, I don't see any obvious misspellings. Were these mainly cut and pastes from the doc?
Yeah.
And then, okay, so it establishes the faces servlet. And then there's servlet mappings. All that looks like standard stuff. Okay. And let's see at the top. Okay, so then let's look at the faces config, XML. Okay, so that's version 2.3. Okay, and the web XML, what one, if you go back to that, what version did that say it was? Web app version 4. Okay, so that's all the latest and greatest. And what do you have in the lib directory? You actually don't need anything there, but that's just, okay, so probably none of that is going to hurt you. You could also safely delete all of that. It would not hurt you, but I would just leave that for the moment. And then if we look at the index, okay, index, okay, so doc type and H and local HWD, all this is standard stuff. Okay, so now when you download Wildfly, you download the full version?
Yeah, I believe so.
Because there's a couple of different versions.
No, I'm pretty sure I downloaded the full version. It was You can still check. It was the Java E full and web distribution version.
Well, and that sounds reasonable. And let's see, inf.
Well,
It's using
I have
hotspot.
the same error.
As can't find CDIB manager. That one.
The
Okay.
one, this one, yeah, the one that says no.
Okay.
and
Okay, so try. See what happens if you put an empty beans XML.
Put that where, sorry?
Like under WebInf. If you right click on WebInf and do new file, just file is fine. That's the first thing, down where it says file, click on file, and then file, up.
Oh,
folder
sorry.
it says file.
There you go.
Okay, and type BEANS, beans, plural, .xml, and then finish. Okay, and it's complaining because it's empty, but that's okay. And then under server, go back and do a full publish of the login. And that should restart it. And then any new error messages are going to be at the bottom. So why don't you just go back to servers and restart the server so we don't have to look through all of the error messages and worry about whether or not.
Sorry, so stop it here?
No, back on the servers. Go back to servers, highlight the server, and then you can click restart. That's fine. And it will give you a clean display.
And now what? Now that the server's going?
Okay, so it says it deployed it. Okay, so now right click on log and do run as on the project, just to bring up a browser. Yeah, run it server, finish.
Oh.
Something in.
So now it shows up, question mark? This hasn't shown up for me before.
Right. Well, that's because. Okay. Now, the beans XML file is a marker file, which for recent versions you do not need.
Right.
So that's odd that this would fix that. So if you, but anyway, so type in something in the name and password, and then hit login. Okay. So the this is an error that some people have had when
yeah.
Sorry, how did you get it to display the web
Something?
page inside of Eclipse?
but by putting in an empty beans XML file, which is a marker file that says that you're using CDI beans.
Okay. Oh, but I mean, how did you get the window inside Eclipse that shows it as like a browser that you can type in localhost into?
Yeah, that was by right-clicking on the project and doing run as.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And that's just a shortcut to avoid having to open up a real browser. Okay, so the next thing that if you go back to the project, see if you have a compiled file for the user bean. In other words, right-click on server or sorry, rather open the servers tab,
Open.
Max, the servers tab down at the bottom.
Oh, sure.
Then click on the servers tab, yeah. And then right click on the login project and do show in file browser. Okay, and then open the WebInf and then classes. Okay, so I've got com and then one more, ColorGSF, okay, and then one more, and user bean.class. Okay, so the class is there. Okay, so and let's see, timestamp on the class is 325. That's reasonably. Is that totally current? Hard to say. Might be. Because the last that Eclipse would have built it is now about 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Might be current. Okay, so that's good. You can check and see what versions the project thinks it's doing by right-clicking on the project and looking at the facets. Under properties, and then facets, it's under F. Project facets under P.
I see.
Just now click on the project facets one. And okay, so this is saying it's using dynamic module 3. And when I created the project, I said you should be using 4. So let's just, I'm going to go off and check and see what I got when, of course, who knows if I did it properly. And if I look at the project facets for mine, okay, so that's also showing 3. Interesting.
Should I have CDI selected here or?
Yeah, it should be selected. Now that would be really unfortunate. That would make a difference. And the dynamic web module is actually 4 because you should have selected Java 4, right?
Yes.
And Java 11 is right. Java server phase is 2.3. That's right. So try to apply that.
Oops.
I don't know what that was.
Oh, that was apply and close.
Okay. Okay. If this fixes it, I'm going to be very upset. But anyway, so right click and do a full deploy. Right click on the project and the server. Full
Like
publish.
yeah.
Full publish, yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Well, I deployed fine before, so that's. And then go back and look at it and see if we got a new copy of the class file deployed. In other words, right click on the project, view as.
Or show in, or
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what it does over there, but if you right click on the project itself, and show in like the project itself in the server, under the server.
oh, okay.
That one, yeah. Show in file browser. And drill down into WebInf classes. And then all the way down. And okay, 13.325. Okay, so it didn't recompile it.
No.
Okay. So I would rebuild it. Projects clean. and clean the one that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Which is the login one, right? You have to clean all that. That's fine too. Yeah, you can clean all. And once it finishes cleaning, then you can publish it again, and you should get a newer one. Okay.
Publish it again under like
We'll
this.
publish under the server. Yeah. No, I only appear to know what's going on. Okay. But by the way, all the stuff that I'm doing right now will become second nature to you. Okay. So
Yeah.
now it's play again. So now try do run as to bring up your browser in the in Eclipse on the project. Yeah, run as on server. Finish. Okay, now it should have the same error, but just for the heck of it, I'll try it again. Okay, and so user. Okay, so what this is complaining about is that when it is when it's running to that expression language user.name, it can't find the user. And where should it find it? Well, in the user bean, it has a named expression. So open up the user bean, look at that. That's under the Java source, yeah. And okay, so interesting. So this doesn't have the annotation that it's supposed to have. So go back and look at the lab. And
User
see what,
bean it doesn't have
so you didn't give it a name, so that's why I couldn't find it.
I copied and pasted it, but I somehow must have missed the 2 lines here.
Okay, so I'll save it. And did you click on the save button in Eclipse? Yes, it looks like.
Yeah, I Control S.
Okay, that's not, yeah, same deal. So now go run as.
In servers?
No, on login. You shouldn't have to redeploy or anything. Just do run as to bring up the browser window. Type in stuff. Hit login. Okay, and let's see, still can't find it. So, oh, sorry, you changed the Java code. My bad. You changed it. I was, mental lapse. I was thinking you changed the page. Java code, we got to redeploy. So go back to server. This is called a beginner error, and full publish, or a mental lapse if you want. And we wait for the console, and it's undeployed the old one. Now it's deploying the new one. Okay, good.
And I want to run as here.
Now we do run as again. And try again if at first you don't succeed.
Hey, how about that?
Okay, so that was sort of, see, this is one of those things where I was so stupid it never even occurred to me that you would have made this mistake.
It's probably because my mistake was so bad.
So I didn't look at the most obvious thing, because if you had cut and pasted, it would have worked.
Yeah.
So I was looking for more subtle things. My bad.
No, it's definitely my bad.
But in the process, you've gotten things moved into a much cleaner state with Wildfly and the Park Place and all of that.
Yeah.
And all these steps that we looked through are sometimes needed depending on what went wrong. Okay. So I think you're good for the moment. So who
Yes,
was
sir.
next?
Oh, I have a question.
Thanks so much, Bruce.
Okay. So no problem. Okay.
On the left there, the login, still had a red X on that. Does that matter at all?
No, that's because, okay, but by the way, at this point, if Max deletes the Beans XML file, it should still work.
I can try that.
Okay, and you'll have to republish it, because when you change configuration files, Eclipse, or sorry, Wildfly only reads the configuration file when it starts the project. So if you change it
Right.
when the project is running, you have to republish it so it will redeploy the project.
So delete beans.xml and then republish in the servers tab.
To full publish, and it should
Okay.
still work, because that wasn't the problem. So all those cleanup things, which are, I guess in some sense good things, the world's a better place. Like if you get a name not found, then it could be because you didn't compile the code, or it could be because you didn't give it a name, which was the case here.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the Alireza was also getting a unable to find type message. Did any of this fix that for Alireza? Or is that still an issue?
Okay, can you hear me?
And if, yeah,
Okay, I still have that issue.
okay. So, and is that also related to 404? So 404 generally means that the project didn't start at all. And then so if you have a 404, then you probably have some other error message that's appearing in the console window.
I think I'm just constantly getting unable to find CDI Bean Manager.
Right. Okay. So, and let's see. Okay. So, and John had one same null exception that might have found the issue. Okay. Do you want to share your screen and we can have a quick look at it? Alireza?
Yes. Can you see it?
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, I have to get a little closer. Okay. So now if we look at the so you have the user being open and it has the annotation. Okay, so that's not an issue. And if you go back to the server tab, so you've got console showing, and okay, so where is, okay, so you've got some unsaved things there. It's like index XHTML shows as unsaved on the middle pane. And it has some issues. So if you, okay, so interesting. So all these, so the welcome page you can generally just close, because you can always open that again. Like on the very right hand side, you've got a welcome, the Eclipse welcome page showing.
This one?
The right hand side of the, like all the way to the right where it's blue.
Oh, okay.
So that's taking up space that you probably don't need. Yeah, okay, so that's good. And the outline I never find terribly useful, but sometimes you can find that useful. Okay, so so click on the servers tab in the middle right. So you have a servers tab.
Okay, servers.
Further right. Yeah,
Yeah.
there. Okay, and so undeploy. So right click on login and remove it. Let's just see what happens when it cleanly starts. So remove that. Easy to get it back. Okay, and then right click on the server, and in the servers page, right click on the Wildfly server and click on restart. And still open. Yeah, that's okay, because it should be undeployed. And let's just see what, I want to see what happens when the server restarts. I actually find that it's often easier to have this on the bottom, just because sometimes you want to see the whole lines and they can be long.
Well, I don't know how
That's
to do that.
that's
but-
okay. It's all info. Well, you can drag and drop this stuff around.
Okay, like,
And let's see. Okay, so it looks like it started.
mhm.
It's yeah, it's tricky. You can get it so it takes up all the way across. Okay, so listening, and so okay, so it started fine. And then if you open up a browser, any browser, and go to localhost :8080, then just localhost :8080, yeah, enter. Okay, Wildfly. Okay, so that's the basics. The server is running, and Oracle is not taking a port. So that's good. Okay, so now we go back, and so you're going to have to fix this index page. So let's have a quick look at that. So why is it so unhappy? Index HTML. And just looking through. Okay, so what does it say in the X, the little X circle? Was it telling you?
Yeah. Should I just hover it?
Yeah, just hovering it. It doesn't. It's not giving you anything. Okay, so it's curious that it is unhappy because I don't see anything obviously wrong. So invalid location. That's a warning. Who cares? Now you should have a problems tab around somewhere. Okay, let's see console. See down on the console. So you have a very unusual layout in Eclipse.
This one?
So on the bottom there should be a console. So do you have a problems tab open? Let's see. Okay, so if you go, this is on Windows, right?
Yes.
So if you go under, I think click on the window menu,
Mhm.
and then show view, and then over, and then there should be, okay, I guess other. Oh no, there it is, problems. Go down to problems, and click on that one. Okay, so there it is. Okay, so now drag it. So click on the title or the tab at the top of under the problems tab. You see there's a PSA. So left mouse press and then drag it
Okay.
down to the left and put it next to the console. There you go. See how easy it is?
Mhm.
Okay, so now you can at least see it. Okay, so what's interesting is that there's only warnings it's showing. But what is it saying? Invalid location. Okay, so that's fine. If you want to, so click in where you have the XHTML up on the top. And let's see, visual source. Okay, so the bottom of your edit page, you've got, yeah, so click on the source, that's fine. Now do like a Control A to highlight the whole thing. So click on the page, Control A, and then under source menu, go down and see, you should have a format under the menu item up on the top in Eclipse. No, the menu. No, leave it in the edit window.
Okay.
And so file, edit, refactor. So that's interesting. So the source. So try right click then in the top window, and you have a format. So refactor. Okay, so it's not.
Format.
So go to format. Yeah, do format. Okay, and that gives you a little bit easier to read format. And save it, because you can do Control S probably, or click on the save button.
No, I think it's already saved.
Yep, it's saved now. Okay, so I'm going to say maybe those are strange spurious things because they don't appear in the problems down at the bottom. So I'm going to ignore that problem for the moment and hope that it's not serious. Otherwise, we'll get back to it. And if you right click on the project, log in, and go to build path, which is the first place to look at if there are problems, and configure build path. Okay, let's just check that quickly. So libraries is one critical thing, and source is the other. We can do source first, it's on the left. So click on that. Okay, so nothing in the build path, therefore nothing gets compiled. So you need to add folder. Click on add folder and click on Java source. That's where you, and then okay. Okay, and then go to libraries. And so we've got a JRE, which looks good, Wildfly, which looks good. So that looks fine. Okay, so then apply and close. And now under, just to make sure that we rebuild everything, then go to project.
I think
On the top where it says like there's a project menu item. Yeah, that's okay. We'll deal with that in a second. The errors. Okay, and then clean. Click on clean and clean all projects. So click the clean button. Okay, and that will go through and rebuild it with a new situation. Okay, so now let's go see what these three errors are. Like down the bottom. Okay, so it says return password cannot be resolved. Okay, session scope not resolved, type. Okay, so let's go at the user bean. Okay, and so what do we see? Well, we see that you imported session scoped with a D, and the annotation is no D, session scope. So you need to add a D on the end of session scoped and save it. Okay, and you're missing a space between return and password. Okay, so all of the errors go away. It's starting to look better already. Okay, and so it's complaining about something, declared package, it's not back to the expected package. Okay, so if you where is the source code? So if you click the little triangle to the left of Java source, let's see what's in there.
this one.
No, in the package explorer on the left, there's a Java source, and it has a little twiddle thing to the left. Okay, so com.core.jsf, and if you click that, the com.core.jsf, so we've got user bean, and the spelling has to be the same for the package and the package statement. Looks the same to me.
Yeah, I think they're the same.
They look the same. So that may be, and let's see, Java is serializable. Okay, it's saying that it's unused import because you didn't say public user bean. Okay, now I haven't told you this yet, but it turns out that with session scoped, it has to be serializable.
Okay, so
So you need to implement Java. Oh, serializable is fine. Yeah. And then save that. Okay. And that you would have discovered probably when you deployed it. I should have given you an error message. I have no idea why it's complaining about the package because it looks okay to me. Oh, my eyes are old and sad, and sometimes I don't see things. So move user bean to package. Where the heck is it? I wonder what happens if you let it do that.
okay. Is not no.
Okay, so it looks like somehow, maybe from some historical thing, it was under COM core JSF, COM core JSF. Okay, so you could safely delete the empty strange package. You know, right click on that and do delete. Delete, yes. Okay, so that's very odd because it was giving you the indication that's where it was in the first place. Okay, and now I've still got some sort of error message on the left. Can you hover over that, like to the left of the package statement? What's it now saying? Does not match the expected package. Ah, okay. Well, that might be a strange Eclipse thing that I'm not going to worry about this very second. Okay, so now let's, I wouldn't suggest trying it again because we're now in an infinite loop. Okay, so let's see now on the, so let's see. You're okay, so you're in a JBoss view. So we've lost the server thing. Okay, so the server thing is up there. So why don't you drag the server one down as well? Yeah, there you go. And anything else useful maybe, but that's good enough. Okay, so we rebuild it, probably good enough. So now deploy it, which you should be able to do by, if you do run as, that's one of the ways of doing it. So run server, let's just see what happens if we do this. And then finish. Okay, so starting the deployment of login.war. And it's going through. And they successfully deployed things. And okay. And so now it says with the appropriate URL can't find one. Okay. So now the question is, do you have a welcome file? Now, one of the ways of testing it quickly is just go back to the page that we were just on.
Like you mean this one?
Yeah, that one. Okay, now, okay, so what happens when you specify a project, but no page in the project, then it will look for a welcome page, which you have to set up in the web XML. Well, that's okay. If you can go there anyway, because so by typing at the end of the URL, if you type, say, for instance, index, INDEX.
Instead of the login?
After login, after login slash,
Okay.
after login slash, type index dot JSF. Let's try that one. Okay, you need a pattern. Okay, and so error parsing, white space required before the including pseudo attributes. So there was an actual, so it tried to do it and got an error message on your line 1. Okay, so according to this, there's a problem with your question mark XML one. So that might be a cut and paste thing.
The whole thing?
No, just the XML one. So if you go back and see what's in the, like, cut it from the document, paste it into here.
Oops. Sorry.
Now, of course, the question is, if you're doing it from the PDF, does it give you strange characters if you don't download? Okay. So it wasn't that one. No, if you go just one line up to the one of these XML ones. Okay, so it's the previous line. See at the bottom of the previous page. So just pull in that line. And save it. XML version. Okay, so we lost. Interesting. So you lost the space.
Mhm.
It looks like. Okay, so now save that. Okay, so that looks like cut and paste from PDF issue.
Can I do the formatting right now?
Oh yeah.
Mm,
Okay, so what I wonder what I can do. Okay. So doc type, yeah. Oh, good catch. Yeah. So doc type after doc type there should be a space.
okay, so where is it?
It's on line 2. So it should be doc type space HTML. Does anybody else have cut and paste issues like this with the PDF?
Yes, it's a bit difficult pasting it from the PDF. Also, Bruce,
Now,
for
like
sorry.
I actually give you a version in the zip file and on GitLab that you can download. Okay. So to avoid cut and paste things, like did you download the zip file that
Yeah.
was lab 1?
Yes.
Okay. So why don't you copy the index XML from the lab 1?
Mm,
Because I think they're identical.
mhm. Which file is that?
It's under SRC and then main and then Java. Sorry, web app. My bad, web app. Okay, so those two, the web XML and the welcome one, you can copy both those and paste them into Eclipse for this project. You want to copy, or
I'll just, yeah.
you didn't really want to open it with anything, but okay. So that's interesting. And what's that last one complaining about? Probably if you hit, okay, so that might be complaining about line terminators. And if you go to, oh, let's see, where they is it maybe under edit menu. Okay, so let's see for okay, what I'm looking for is so the issue is Windows versus Linux line terminators, and maybe source. See what's under source. Yeah, maybe refactor. Ooh, that's strange. Okay. Like, what if you look at that error? That's probably saying something about line terminators. Okay. Is there any problems? No problems. Okay. See if you can just ignore that.
Okay.
Because it may be an error that doesn't really affect you. And save this. Okay. Now, yep. Save it.
Mhm.
It at least looks much better. So what about the welcome page? What does that look like? Okay, so that has the same. But by the way, I never go with the view source. I always go directly to the source, just because I don't find the simulated web page that useful. Okay, so this may be a cut and paste issue as well.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's no space after the HTML.
Yes, I'm just gonna drag it and drop it.
So that, yeah, so you could do the same thing with the welcome page.
Can I just drag and drop there?
Yeah, should be able to. But
No.
you might have to delete that one first. You can at least do, if you're on Windows, you can do Control C to copy and Control V to paste. Should work.
Cannot.
Okay. And, well, so right click on, if you right click on web content, because that's where you want to paste it. So right click on that and see if it gives you a paste. Yes, it gives you a paste option. And then there's the welcome one.
Okay.
And that one is, oh, okay, so I didn't do it. This actually is a different, this one's using an HTML4 one. Yeah, different doc type. But that's okay. Close enough.
Shall I
Okay,
run it again?
so oh yeah, try running again. But that's interesting because that is like all those were copy paste issues. Okay, that's okay. We'll try index.jsf, for instance. Enter.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Password and login.
Nice. Seems it's working.
Okay. So now the reason that you had to type the index.jsf is because you don't have a welcome file in the web XML. So without a welcome file, you can still go to the specific page if you know how to type it. So if we go to web XML now, and that might be, okay, so welcome file. Okay, so interesting. So there is a welcome file list. And okay, now do you have to have slash? That's what I can never remember is whether or not you have to have slash faces slash. Let's just see what I've got.
Like this?
Okay, no, that looks right. So faces slash index dot XHTML. Like the way you got it is no, without the slash. Okay, so the way you have it should work. Unless there's something misspelled in there. So welcome file list looks good. Version 4 looks good. And index.ah XHTML, that's good. Okay, so you're missing an X on the welcome file. It's XHTML.
Like this?
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Okay, so now I should pick up the. It's hard to see those minor differences, that's for sure. But that should pick it up. Now, if you notice, by the way, everybody, what I just sort of threw in an extra thing I hadn't told you about yet, which is how does it know that it's a JSF page? It has to match, the URL has to match one of these patterns. And so anything ending, according to this servlet mapping, anything ending star.jsf is a JFS page. So I said index.jsf. And the .jsf made it a JSF page. Now the actual file extension it looks for is the XHTML. The JSF is only a pattern to tell it that it's a JSF page. So I could have put /faces/index XHTML. That would have worked. Or index.faces, that would have worked. But another thing people often fall into is if it doesn't match any of the patterns to be a JSF page, then it will just interpret it as HTML, and there it will almost look right. So that's often a confusing area to fall into. Okay. What's interesting is there's a couple of very mysterious error problems with completely different causes. But welcome to Java. Like, as I say, after, I know that's not a great TV to work through all these issues with people who don't necessarily have this problem, but believe me, all these steps are things that will bite you at some point. And you sort of need to get on top of how to find errors and what it might be. And as you work through it, what you find is that most of the things are things that you've done before, and you can find them instantaneously, but not the first time. Okay, and there are some good comments of things that I didn't notice, like missing spaces and so on. So that was good as well. So that means that you're starting to look at things. Okay. And yeah, default ports are important. Again, you're in a Datacom course this term, so you should learn more about ports. But only one application can be listening on a port at the same time. First come, first capture it. Okay, and let's see other errors. So yeah, I haven't figured. So office hours, the projects people haven't yet given me the projects that I'm in. So I've got like 5 hours that are in my schedule somewhere. I have no idea when it is, so I can't do my office hours. But on the other hand, if you, on an ad hoc basis, if you send me a request, I can set up a Zoom meeting with people. So, come one, come all. Just send me an email and request time, and I'll set something up. Okay, and so Fahad has errors.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing. Thank you, Bruce.
Okay, my pleasure. Okay, so just about time, and so let's see. So what? Work through the rest of the lab. It's all good stuff. As I said, it's due next week. It's not due right now. Next week will be yet another lab. And the main idea of this week is working through all these issues. Okay, so it's depending on how many issues you stumble into, it's faster or slower. I can stick around a little bit longer if people want to have help right now. But people are welcome to drift away as well, because we're now formally done. Okay, so thank you all. And I've got a couple of outstanding errors that I haven't dealt with. If you want to, you can stay on and see. Otherwise, catch me when you can. And if Fahad or Liu or Alex, sorry, it takes me a little bit longer to parse it depending on the order that you have your first name and last name. And so Fahad is first name, is that correct? Saeed? Is he there? Does he have a mic? Is he gone? There you are. Okay, so there you are. Yes. So what's your first name?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, that's good then. My first name is Fahad.
Okay,
Yeah, and last name is Sayed.
good. So that's what I thought. That's the
Yeah.
way my, okay.
My mic was mute all this time and I didn't know.
Yeah. Okay. And I can't see that on the chat. So, so what was your question, Fahad?
Oh, I'm having some errors. Like, it's showing like the web page cannot be found,
Right.
and then I think it's showing a bunch of errors. Would you like me to screen share?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I'll do that. Yep, there it is.
It's coming. Right. So, so again, the web page cannot be found doesn't tell you a whole lot.
Yeah.
So you have to look down to the console to see what errors you've got, and you will very frequently get literally thousands of lines of errors. That's not unheard of. So you have to develop a skill of sifting through that and quickly finding what's useless and what tells you something. And so what happens? So if we go up to the top of the first error,
Yep.
that's usually a good place to start. Oh, this looks similar to what other people have had.
Okay, I think that one.
Okay, and so